Good morning. Thank you all so much for having me here, and what a wonderful event. You guys are so lucky to live in San Diego and have an event like this going on, because I know that there are tons of women out there looking for all of the wonderful advice that you're going to get and the insights you're going to get in today's conference. And I'm particularly delighted to be here because when I got an email from Cindy Robinson, who I've known for many, many years, I love the Parent Connection. I talk about it all over the United States and say what a wonderful group of moms they have in San Diego with the Parent Connection. I just couldn't say no to Cindy. The organizers of today's events were nice enough to say, hey, Maria, while you're here, can you just in 10 minutes give us some advice about moms and business, and we'll give you 10 minutes. And I said, okay, I'll try to get it down to 10 minutes. But so what I thought about today, actually, I went running in Old Town, and for a girl or a woman from Florida, the hills in Old Town are a little bit challenging. And as I was running, and of course I was running, everybody else in California was sleeping because I was up so early. I was thinking about the fact that, you know, I've been in business for 15 years now, and business is kind of like those hills in Old Town. You go up a hill and it's a little bit of a struggle, but then there's like, you're coasting down, and then there's another hill and you coast down again. And I was really thinking, okay, what got me up those hills in the last 15 years? And where were the surprises when I was coming down the hill? And believe me, there's been a lot of hills in my career. But I've been fortunate to have mentors. I hate to say this, but they were all men. But I've worked for and with some of the most powerful businessmen in America and around the globe. And I've had the opportunity to really meet some wonderful female CEOs and founders of companies. And so what I thought I'd do is just kind of run down the list of kind of the lessons that I've learned from each of them, because I kind of believe in the Dalai Lama when he says, don't lose the lesson. So with every person I meet in life, I try to take one lesson from them. And I thought I'd run down some of the people that I have met in my career and give to you the lessons that I've learned from them. First of all, and I was also thinking today that women approach business a little bit different than men, and I think it has to just do with our makeup. So I'm going to give you a little commentary on the men's comments that I learned. Number one came from Steve Berard, who was the president of Viacom and the president of Blockbuster Video, who I worked with for several years. And he used to say to me, because I would evaluate business plans that he was going to invest in, and businesses that they were going to acquire. I worked on the acquisition of Alamo Rental Car and National Car Rental and John Elway's car dealerships. And he used to say to me, where's the exit strategy? And in reviewing business plans of women, what I find is, and here's the women part, we love being in love, and we fall in love with our businesses. And when we create our businesses, we don't have an exit strategy. Now, I don't know about you, but when I started my business, the idea was, you know, of course, flexibility and all that stuff that really doesn't happen, but I wanted to make money at it. And if you don't have an exit strategy, a lot of times you can fall in love with the wrong idea, and you can miss out on the real opportunity to make money in your business. So when you're writing your business model, don't forget about the exit strategy, because you don't want to fall in love with an idea that may have a flaw in it and miss the opportunity on one of those downhills for what you could be learning in another opportunity that might be greater than the one you currently are pursuing. So don't forget the exit strategy. Michael Egan, who is the founder of Alamo Rental Car and theglobe.com, he said to me one day, you know, Maria, it's really great you do all this consulting and marketing work and blah, blah, and everything you do, But how do you make money when you sleep? And if you think about it, if you're a consultant or you're selling a product to people who have to see you face to face, you are only going to make as much money as there are hours of your day. And if you're a mom, you have a few less than some other people, okay? So ask yourself, how are you gonna make money when you're sleeping? And don't limit the amount of money that you can make by basing your business on your own personal time. Maxine Clark, the founder of Build-A-Bear Workshop, we were sitting in our pajamas one night because we were sharing a house together, and we were talking about women in business. And she said, you know, Maria, I get so many emails from women who have a great idea and they want my opinion on it. And then when I say, okay, well, tell me about your idea, I'm interested in learning, they won't tell me. They won't share. They literally suffocate their business because they're afraid that someone else is going to steal it. Well, you know what? There's really no original idea out there, okay? It's how you market it. It's how you brand it. It's how you differentiate yourself. It's the passion that you put behind it. So be careful. Yes, get your name trademarked and, but people send me NDAs all the time and they're like, will you sign an NDA? And I'm like, yeah, whatever. It's just worth what the piece of paper it's written on, quite honestly. But anyways, don't be afraid to share your ideas. Even if they're not really an idea you think you can bring to life, just saying it to someone may bring another opportunity to you. Then there's a couple of lessons that I've learned that I want to share with you. Number one, once you get going in a business and people see that you start becoming successful, so many people want to partner with you, okay? And they see your passion for what you're doing and they're like, oh my gosh, we can do something together. What I've learned is no one is going to promote your business or your product like you. No matter how much you pay them or hire a publicist or whatever, it's all about you. Because your passion cannot be replicated very easily. So when I learned my lesson the hard way, when anyone ever comes to me and says, oh my gosh, Maria, we got to be a partner because you can do this and I can do this, I always give them the first task to do. Because then I see how much they're really relying on me and my passion and my business and how much they're willing to put into the partnership. And when you create an action item and you say, okay, that's great. Next Friday, you come back to me with a list of how we're going to do this, and I'll get right on it. Do you know how many people come back to me with that list of how this partnership's going to work? Very, very, very few, okay? Moms and women have the worst habit of this. We don't ask for enough. We underprice. We fall in love with our business and our product, and we never ask for enough money. I don't know what it is. I think it's the woman thing that, we just don't feel we're worthy, or I don't know. That's an Oprah show. But I do know this, is that when you don't ask for the money, and if you are uncomfortable asking for the money, let someone else on your team do it. And I'll give you an example. Someone came to me one time and they asked me to speak, and it was between me and this other woman. And they asked me the price, and I was like, oh, because I love what I do, I'm like, oh, just pay for my ticket there and whatever. And I gave them a small fee. Well, they came back to me and they said, you know what, Maria? We really wanted you at this conference, and it was a big company. But the other lady asked for $15,000, so we just thought you somehow weren't, up to par with what she could offer, okay? Now, she did the exact same speech she had done for the last year for that $15,000, and I would have given them much more, but I realized at that point I was uncomfortable asking for money because I love what I do too much. So I literally now have someone on my staff that I say, you know what, Laura will get back to you with my fee requirement and my availability. And she has no problem because she does the bookkeeping and invoicing, asking for money. So I give that to someone else. They're holding up my cards, but I want to give you two other things. Number one, I always say and ask myself in a situation of business, what would a man do? Before you make your decision, ask yourself, what would a man do? Two guys in business can have a knockdown, drag-out fight in a corporate office, and an hour later, they're on the golf course going, hey, dude, you want a beer on the 19th hole? We're not like that. Women, like, we internalize it, we think about it, we contemplate, oh my gosh, let me read that email 5 times. I mean, last week I did the worst thing I've ever done in my career, and I basically, like, sent an email to someone with the F word in it. And my business partner in one of my companies is a guy in finance, and he's like, oh my gosh, Maria, that was the most unprofessional thing you ever did. I'm like, oh, give me a break. You are a man, and you have heard much worse than what I just said. So don't use the F word in emails, but just ask yourself, what would a guy do? So many moms call me and they'll say, Maria, I'm going on maternity leave and I'm afraid of going to tell my boss I'm pregnant. And the first thing I say is, a guy looks at the bottom line and he says, how much money is that person worth? So you don't go in and say, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm willing to work from home, I'm sorry, I'm going to be on maternity leave. No, you go in and you say, you know what, last year I upped sales by 5% in this company, and I'm worth $2.5 million to your bottom line, and I intend to keep doing that, and here's the situation, and here's how I'm going to obtain that, okay? So you think about it through a man's eyes, and you tend to get a different perspective. And then finally, as a mom, and I can say this because I had 3 kids in less than 2 years, in less than 20 months, to be honest with you, and I had 4 in less than 4 when I worked for the fastest growing company in America. And now that they're older, it's much harder to be on the road like I am and to be running the businesses that I am. But my best advice to you now that I have teenagers is when you are home, and you may be running your business from home, but when you are with your children, be present. That means if you're on your computer and they come up to you and they say, oh, mommy, look, you literally, this is the habit that I've gotten myself into, you look at the whites of their eyes, because they'll know that you're not present when you're just like looking at your BlackBerry and answering the question. But I look at the whites of their eye and I know in my heart that I'm present. So I would just encourage you, because that's the hardest thing, is you get in that gray area where you're trying to answer phone calls and you think it's the most important thing in that conference call that you're on, but be present. So as you start today, I wanted to throw out my favorite saying so that I can introduce our keynotes. And my favorite saying is, if you always do what you've always done, you're always going to get what you've always gotten, okay? So as you go through today, I really encourage you to be open to looking outside of your current business plan, learn and listen from the people around you, ask questions, and most importantly, ask yourself, what if?